Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tishana and today we're going to be discussing anxiety. I've decided that mental health is so important and we need more knowledge, we need more information, we need more tools so that we can adequately address our mental health issues as they arise, handle them in responsible ways, and move on so that we can continue to live productive, healthy lives. Now, when it comes to anxiety, most of the things that I'm going to share with you today are things that I learned firsthand from suffering from anxiety myself. I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of medication, counseling, how to heal yourself naturally on your own. I'm going to be pulling from my own life experiences, my own research that I've done with anxiety, and different classes that I've taken to educate myself, including an Introduction to Counseling course. So I'm going to share all of that knowledge with you. So the first thing that I want to talk about, I want to get into what anxiety actually is, because I don't think people fully know what it is, where it comes from, and how to deal with it. And oftentimes people may be experiencing anxiety and not even know it. Like, you could be on your way to having a panic attack and you're brushing it off as if it's nothing. And it really could be a red flag, and you're not aware of your own mental health enough to be able to identify these things. And which I find really intriguing, which makes me wonder why. Why don't we recognize these things? Is it because there's a stigma in society and in the world surrounding mental health? Luckily, I have seen more people being vocal about these types of things. And there has been a lot of awareness being raised, and people seem to be becoming more compassionate, more sympathetic, especially as people are starting to experience things that they only heard about. Now that they're experiencing them firsthand, they're like, wait a minute, there's something to this. From my own study of myself and asking myself questions like, just questioning my behavior. Why did I think that? Why did I react that way? Why did I say that? Why did I jump so quick to that conclusion? And from what I understand and what I've read and what I've studied, anxiety comes from an unresolved or unidentifiable, something that may be in your subconscious, an unresolved or unidentified trauma or some type of pain. When that unidentified or unresolved trauma or pain resurfaces, it can manifest in a number of ways. And one of those ways is as anxiety. The definition of anxiety is a feeling of fear or apprehension about what's to come. And of course, we are under stress all the time. And in your own environment, you can easily be triggered. Now, if you don't have enough support in place to keep you grounded when you are triggered, you can start to feel symptoms of anxiety. It can be so subtle that you don't even realize what is happening. So I'm going to go through some of the symptoms somebody might feel if they're starting to have anxiety. You might have a sudden onset of racing thoughts or a bombardment of questions that you don't have any real clear answer to. And that kind of starts a hamster wheel in your mind. And so you start going around and around and around trying to solve this, but your understanding on the matter and of life, of the big picture, is limited. So you are pulling from a limited scope of information to solve this problem. As that hamster wheel is spinning, it can turn into an onset of worry because of the lack of resolve or the prospect of a lack of resolve. You start to get worried and more anxious because you just can't seem to solve the puzzle. Trying to move on mentally, but you keep coming back to those same unresolved questions and those emotions which make you unable to move forward, but your desire to move forward keeps the wheel spinning. So it's just going like this. And you don't know how to stop it. You don't know how to calm down because you want those undesirable, negative emotions, feelings, memories. You want them to have resolve and you want them to stop. Without the tools, without the healing, without, the information, you are almost at a standstill. Then once you realize that you can't solve this one problem, you can start to begin to think about all the other problems, and then they can start to snowball. And if left unchecked, this your anxiety can go from mild to panic attack. And it can happen like that, literally. You can be fine 1 minute, and in 5 minutes later, you're literally hyperventilating. Even a panic attack, you might not even know how to recognize if you're having one. Some people could dismiss it and say, "Oh, you stop being a drama queen. Stop being so dramatic." When literally you need help. This is a medical emergency. You need people to care, to stop for a minute and really take what's happening seriously. Again, I think that the social stigma surrounding mental health has programmed us to dismiss medical emergencies pertaining to people's mental state. Panic attacks can suddenly feel like you can't think or speak, like you're almost like a deer in headlights. Somebody could come up to you and ask you your name, and you wouldn't be able to give them a clear answer, or where you live, or any other type of pertinent information about yourself. It's almost like you can't even talk. You don't know what is going on, or who you are, or what's up. It's almost like the anxiety just kind of takes over for a minute. Your pulse can start to race. You can feel like your heart is beating so hard that it feels like it's going to beat out of your chest. It can be difficult to catch your breath. And also you can have a heightened sensitivity to noise, to lights, and also being in a public atmosphere. It can become very, very overwhelming very, very fast. So now that we've covered the basics of anxiety, or what it may look like to witness someone else having anxiety, now we can move on to begin to discuss what to do about it. When most people think about their mental health or what they should be doing about it, the average response you're going to receive is probably go to counseling, get on medication if your symptoms become too much to manage. And there's not really a whole lot of education outside of that. My experience with counseling, I'm not going to say that counseling doesn't work, because I've actually had been very fortunate to have two really caring, loving, passionate counselors in my life. But I've also had my fair share of one that just push a pencil on a notebook and nod their head and don't give you any real feedback to go on. And I found with counseling, if you don't have the right one, you can end up feeling very, very vulnerable and very, very exposed. It's not a light matter to go to somebody that you don't know, a complete stranger, and just open up and spill your guts to them, especially if they just treat you like a number. Counseling can be very expensive, and if somebody is just there to earn a paycheck off of you, and they're not really thinking that this is a living, breathing, sentient being in front of me, and I need to take care of their heart and mind, they're very delicate and very fragile. It is very important that you find a counselor that values you, that values their work, and does it for love, because they genuinely want to help others. If somebody does it for anything else besides those reasons, they can end up sending a lot of people back into the world more damaged than when they arrived. When it comes to choosing a counselor that's right for you, make sure you don't settle. Make sure you find the one that is a perfect fit, that understands you, that you can connect and you can feel safe with. In addition to finding the right counselor, I will let you know my thoughts and my feelings on medication. I have mixed feelings when it comes to medication. Any foreign substance or chemical that you're taking into your body could potentially change the chemistry of your brain and make you dependent. And when you have a mental or emotional fracture, it's all about healing and being able to take your life back and take control of your own happiness. Now, for many, medication helps a great deal. My biggest concern, however, is a mental and emotional fracture is more of a spiritual wound than it is a physical one. Now, taking a pill is almost like slapping a band-aid on your symptoms, but not really getting to the root cause. Your anxiety is stemmed to an experience or a string of experiences that you need to heal, you need to identify and be able to move on from. A lot of those times, those experiences have become repressed memories that, with the right counselor, can help you uncover, address, process, and move on from. Now, I want to share with you guys, firstly, some of the coping strategies that I use in my own life that definitely work for me. The first biggest one, honestly, truly, guys, is prayer. When I'm feeling super, super overwhelmed and I just need someone to turn to, I need a friend, God is there. For many people that don't have a relationship yet with God or really much experience in that area, I'm here to tell you, first of all, that God is love. And there is nothing that will hurt you about God. And He is there for anybody that wants to call out to Him. And whenever I'm feeling overwhelmed and I just stop and have prayer, honestly, I instantly start to feel better. I can't even describe it. It's like these invisible arms just wrapping themselves around me. And I just feel something telling me within myself, everything's going to be okay. You're going to be fine. I feel this. I feel the presence and the spirit of love itself just being there for me, calming me down and bringing me back to myself. And that is so important, especially if you find yourself alone. Because a lot of the time, anxiety starts to happen when we're by ourselves. That seems to be when the thoughts and the feelings and the emotions start to spin out of control. Especially when you spent a lot of time alone, without anybody checking up on you. So guys, if you have any friends out there that have been alone for days on end and you haven't heard from them, that's a red flag. Don't just assume that somebody is okay. Reach out to any friends or anybody that has struggled in the past. They could be struggling again. It's so difficult to reach out when you're struggling mentally and emotionally. It's just really hard. It's very hard. It's hard to get out of your own head, and it's doubly hard to ask for help. Now, any practice that helps you pull away from the flashbacks or the unwanted memories or the negative or challenging emotions, that is called grounding. Grounding is so important when you're experiencing anxiety because it's going to call you back to a place of love and peace, and it's going to draw you out of the fear. Anxiety is triggered by fear. Prayer is one type of grounding. Grounding can also be in the form of someone that you love and trust, somebody that you feel safe with, somebody that has seen you at your absolute best and has also seen you when you're not doing so great, somebody that you can be vulnerable with and that you know that you're in good hands. They're not going to judge you. They're just going to support you and be there for you, and they just understand. It's important to have somebody like that in your corner. If you are lucky and blessed to have that, make sure you reach out to them because they will not mind being there for you. And I know it's really hard sometimes. It's like you want to reach out, but you also don't want anyone to see you this way. You only want people to see the best version of you all the time. Well, guess what? We all have down days, and we got to be there for each other. It's a part of life, and we're going to get through this thing a lot better with each other by our sides. Another technique that you can apply, especially if you find yourself alone and you start to experience anxiety, or you're with somebody else that is experiencing anxiety and you want to help them, you can apply something called the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. This is where you use your senses to list things around you. Starting with number 5, list 5 things that you hear. Start to pay attention to your world and your environment. It can be the wind, it can be the birds, it can be, a sound, a noise outside. It can, if you're indoors, it can be the clock ticking. It can be anything. Try to identify 5 things that you hear. Then identify 4 things that you see in your world around you. Then 3 things that you can touch from where you're sitting or wherever you're at. 2 things that you can smell. And 1 thing that you can taste. Sometimes anxiety can feel like you're having an out-of-body experience, like your mind is over here and your feelings are over here. Like, can't really see me, but imagine my arms are out to the sides And one represents my mind, one represents my feelings. So that's kind of what it can be like sometimes when you're having anxiety. It can literally feel like you're separated from yourself. These grounding techniques will help you pull yourself back together, and it will help put the earth back under your feet, so you can have a sense of your environment, where you are and who you are within your environment. It can be very scary sometimes, and not knowing, not being able to have, what's the word I'm looking for? Spatial awareness. Anxiety can completely take away your spatial awareness. Also, guys, don't neglect going outside and just getting a little bit of fresh air and some sunlight, especially if you've been indoors for days on end. Just go outside, even if you just sit in nature for a minute, if you have it around you. Just listen to the wind, listen to the birds, let the sun, kiss your cheeks. Just breathe in some fresh air. There's something very, very wholesome about just being out in nature. If you're not ready to socialize, that's fine. Make sure you do at least try to get some fresh air, and do reach out to somebody that you do trust, because anxiety can easily start to manifest as a phobia. And then you don't want it to snowball to the point where you're feeling housebound, where it first was a choice not to go out, but now you're genuinely starting to feel scared about going out, being out there, being around people and socializing and living a normal life like everyone else. So reach out. Don't let it snowball and get out of control to the point where it's like a runaway train and now you don't know what to do. You are in full control of your happiness, and remember that your true state is joy. It's not anxiety, it's joy. Even when you can't see that, have faith in the truth, and that this too will pass. It really will. Even if it doesn't seem like it will, have faith that this too shall pass, and it will. I love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this was all helpful. I really enjoyed sharing my knowledge and my life experience with you. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed, please do so, because I'd love to see you in the next video. Bye, guys.